Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to give everyone a few more minutes to join. Okay, it's 12 o'clock. We're going to get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and spending your lunch hour with us. My name is Ashley Masick. I'm the External Communications Manager here at Duquesne Light. Again, thank you for joining us to learn more about emergency preparedness today. This is a very important topic as we head into the peak of storm season, and also a very timely one given the recent windstorm that our region just experienced. So a lot to cover today, and we'll get right into it. Okay, a couple of quick housekeeping items. First of all, today's session is being recorded. Everyone will receive a link to it after we wrap here today. And secondly, because we have a lot to cover over the next 60 minutes to make sure this conversation stays as efficient as possible, we have turned off everyone's camera, microphone, and chat function. So while you won't be able to interact with us directly today, you will have an opportunity to share feedback via a survey, which we will talk about more as we get toward the end of today's discussion. And finally, if you are in need of closed captioning today, that is available. Just based on the screenshot that you see here, scroll up to the top of your screen where it says more, and then scroll to where it says language and speech, show live captions, and that should take care of that for you. Okay, quickly looking at today's agenda. Again, we have an action-packed 60 minutes ahead. I will soon pass the floor over to Christy Stone, our Chief Customer Officer, for some brief remarks. From there, we will get into the meat of our presentation today, starting with BJ Supin, our Emergency Management Specialist, who will go over emergency preparedness in more depth and how you and your family can stay safe during storms and other emergency events. From there, you will hear from Colleen Mackin, our Customer Experience Manager, who will talk more about our outage map and also alert notifications that you can sign up for during storms and other emergency situations. From there, we will talk more about community resources and support. That will be led by Angela Feldbauer, our ESG and Corporate Giving Senior Manager, as well as Sandra Matushaya, our Community Disaster Program Manager with the American Red Cross. And then finally, Jen Neiswanger, our Customer Experience Director, will close out with some steps that DLC is taking to improve our own storm response. And then we'll spend roughly the last 15 minutes or so doing a quick question and answer session. Many of you submitted questions during the registration process, and we thank you very much for that. We will get to as many of those today as we can before closing it out with some next steps. So I will now pass the floor over to Christy Stone.
All right, thank you very much, Ashley. Good afternoon. It is really great to have you all here. I'm Christy Stone, Chief Customer Officer at DLC. As mentioned earlier, just a few weeks ago, we experienced a major storm resulting in service disruptions for many of our customers. Disruptions can cause uncertainty, which can cause stress. It is in those moments that one thing becomes really clear. Preparation isn't optional. It is essential. At DLC, we've learned from every storm. We've made improvements, we're getting better. And the truth is we're not done. We can't do it alone though. We believe preparedness is a shared responsibility. That's why today matters. This is about being proactive, keeping things simple, and making sure you walk away knowing exactly what you can do to be ready. Because storms will come, but when we're prepared, the experience is different. So let's get into it. I want to bring up someone who lives this work every day, BJ Supan, our emergency preparedness specialist. He's going to walk you through what you need to know. BJ?
Thanks, Christy. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for being here this afternoon. Today, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about what it means to be prepared and how we go about preparing for emergencies and disasters. Before we talk about how to prepare, though, we need to understand what we should be prepared for. Emergencies and disasters don't necessarily have to be widespread. I think a lot of times we often see images in movies or TV or social media of widespread or community-wide damage and destruction, but an emergency can be local. It can happen on your street, or it can happen really to you in your own home. So it's important that you're prepared for whatever comes your way. We need to make sure that you yourself are prepared, as well as those in your household. Before we talk about exactly how to prepare, it's important that we understand what we need to be prepared for. As you see here on this slide, some of the major risks that we can see here in Western PA include severe thunderstorms that include high winds, flooding, landslides, and winter weather. These are many of the same events that can cause outages in our area. Oftentimes we see outages from high winds, like I mentioned, associated with thunderstorms or other wind events. They can cause trees to fall on DLC equipment. We can also see damage to our equipment from snow and ice storms, as well as vehicle accidents. Regardless of the cause of an outage or an emergency, it's important that we remain prepared. Here in Western Pennsylvania, we're very fortunate to be surrounded by many people who are ready to help. Those include first responders, community groups, and volunteer organizations. It's important to remember, though, that no matter the emergency, help may not be immediately available. Being self-sufficient gives you the best chance to be resilient and overcome whatever situation you may face. We can do that by building an emergency kit. Regardless of the time of year, everybody's emergency kit should include the following. First is 72 hours or 3 days worth of non-perishable food and water for your entire family. Please remember to be mindful of any dietary requirements or needs folks in your household may have. Some things you could include from a food perspective include proteins like canned meats, beef jerky, and beans, canned fruits and vegetables, as well as a variety of snacks, including granola bars, energy bars, trail mix, and crackers. Some other items to include are a battery-powered radio and flashlight, both with extra batteries, a first aid kit, a cell phone with a charging cord, some form of portable or backup power, like a backup battery, and a blanket. You may also need to consider the following depending on those in your household. Some other items include prescription medications and eyeglasses, infant supplies like formula, bottles, and diapers, as well as pet supplies like food, water, and medications for your pets. One other important consideration includes the time of year, which can play a role into what you put in your emergency kit. In the warmer months, consider adding things like shoes and clothing specific to warmer weather, sunscreen, towels that you can wet and use for cooling, and a battery-powered fan. In cooler months, consider swapping out your warm weather gear and adding cold weather items like extra blankets, gloves, hats, and other thermal layers, hand warmers, and shoes and clothing specific to cold weather. Now that we've talked about what you should have on hand, let's touch upon another important step, creating your emergency plan. A couple of things to keep in mind. First and foremost, your emergency plan is created by you, and it should apply to your specific situation. It doesn't have to be long, and it doesn't have to be complex, but it should be written down, and it should be updated regularly. There are many things worth documenting in your plan, which we'll touch upon now. First and foremost is knowing where you'll get information. Oftentimes, before and immediately after an emergency or disaster, one of the first things that people will do is look for information, and you need to know where to find it. One place where you need to find information or need to know where to get specific information is when it comes to weather alerts. Oftentimes, this can be in the form of visiting the National Weather Service's website or tuning into alerts that may come to your phone. Another place you can find information is through local community alerts. Many municipalities or townships in our area often offer mass communication systems that they can use to communicate with their residents in times of emergency. Finally, social media is another great tool that you can use to learn more about what's going on. Different volunteer groups, community groups, and first responder agencies will often communicate updates in real time via social media, so it's important that you're connected to those groups ahead of time. It's also important to know how you'll communicate. Oftentimes we think of common examples like our mobile phones or landlines, but one thing we don't often think about is having a meeting place. Sometimes, like we do in a home fire, for example, we need to consider a meeting place in the community in case we get separated from our families during an emergency and we don't have an immediate way to communicate. Examples of this could include a fire station, a church, a local community center, but it's important that you know where that place is and that you document that place in your plan so you and your family know exactly where to go if you can't communicate. Another couple of things that are important to document include information about specific needs. This could include specific medications or dietary needs that you or somebody in your household may have. It could also include documenting specific things around children, elderly, and those with functional or access needs. As I mentioned before, please don't forget about your pets. Another thing worth documenting is where you keep critical information like birth certificates, titles and deeds, social security cards, and insurance information. Oftentimes, we don't keep these in one place, but they are important when disaster strikes, so it's good that you have documented where these things live. The last thing that's important to keep in mind is to know where you can go. Depending on the size and scope of the emergency, oftentimes you may not be able to stay in your home. You need to know where to go in these instances. Sometimes it may be staying with friends or family, it may be staying in a hotel, or it may be finding a local shelter that's opened by our friends at the Red Cross, who you'll hear a little bit more from today. Regardless of where you end up staying and what information you put in your plan, it's important that you update your plan often. Hopefully you found this helpful and can leave here today knowing more about what to plan for and how best to plan for it. Now I'd like to turn it over to Colleen Mackin, our Manager of Customer Experience.
Thank you, BJ. During my session, I will explain to you our outage map and describe the types of communications you'll receive when you experience an outage. Our outage map is your best source for the most up-to-date information during an outage. You can find our map at duquesnelight.com/outages, or you can download our mobile app, our DLC mobile application. So when you look at our outage map, you'll first notice a pop-up box. That pop-up notification has a link inside it that gives you a link to a training guide, which teaches you navigation within the map. You can then X out of that notification. And at times when we're experiencing a major outage event, you'll notice a pink banner at the top of the outage map. We use this section during major outage events for daily updates. And we also state here the system-wide estimated time of restoration, which is when we expect to have most customers restored in our service territory. The gray section on the left of our outage map shows a summary of active events at any given time. Under the DLC logo, you'll see the total number of active events. You'll see the total number of customers affected by those active events. And to the right of that, you'll see that our map updates. And in this case, it had updated 9 minutes ago in this example, but our map updates every 7 to 10 minutes. You can view the event summary by 3 different methods. Right now, this image is showing a zip code view, but you can also look at the summary of the events by county or by community. Each view shows the number of customers out and the number of customers served within each zip code, county, or community. You'll see tabs at the bottom of the left, and those are named Events, Layers, and Legend View. And I just reviewed the Events button. If you click on the Layers tab, you can overlay your map view with the weather radar, or you can change it to satellite view. If you click on the Legend, it is here that you can see the definitions and color that represents each icon on our map. Different colors represents the total number of customers affected. Red, there's over 500 customers affected by an outage. Orange and yellow are also other descriptors to show how many customers are affected. And blue means that there are multiple outages within an area. You can zoom in on the blue icon to drill down and see more outages within a particular service territory. You'll see an insert on the upper right of this screen. And when the community has warming or cooling centers open, we will display these locations on the map, and their icons will be referenced in the legend. Warming centers show as a house, as you can see here, and cooling centers are displayed as a fan. If you click on the house or the fan, the location, address, and phone number and name of the resource center will be displayed for you. The right side, or our map section, is where you're going to focus to find information about your individual outage. So you can find a particular address by inserting your address in the search field at the top of the middle of the page. You can then zoom into your address to find details about your outage. Here you can see the estimated time of restoration of your outage if it's known, the date the outage had started, the cause of the outage if it is known, and the status of our crews. Some examples of status updates are damage assessment is needed, a downline guard is on site, a crew is en route, or a crew is on site. All of these fields can change as the outage activity continues throughout the restoration process. So outage messages. We will automatically send you outage notifications if we have your cell phone or your email address on file. So it's important that you have your contact information updated with us. You can also add your landline phone number at duquesnelight.com/myalerts, but we do not automatically enroll you in that type of notification. On the next four slides, you're going to see examples of the types of messages in email, text, and voice formats. So our first message is outage reported. You'll receive an outage reported message once you report your outage to us. So whether you report your outage through our website, through our DLC mobile app, through our automated voice response system, once you report an outage, that will trigger this confirmation that Duquesne Light received the notification of your power outage. The next notification that you'll receive is outage confirmed. This message is sent out once Duquesne Light has assessed the outage area and has confirmed, yes, there is an outage at that location. So the important thing to note about this message is that even if you did not report the outage yourself to Duquesne Light, if you are connected to the outage and we have your email address or your cell phone number, you will receive a notification that the outage has been confirmed in your area. The next notification during an outage event that you'll receive is the estimated time of restoration if the estimated time of restoration has changed. So that first message that comes out that says, we've confirmed your outage, if an estimated time of restoration is known, it will be included in there. And then you'll receive this message if there has been a significant change in the estimated time to restore your outage. And the last notification that you'll receive is power restored. If your power is still out, even after you receive a power restored message, there's many different reasons why that could happen. We made restorations in your area, and so you should first check your breaker or your panel or your breaker panel or your fuse box. And if your power is still out, it's important that you report it again. Sometimes when there's a large outage and we've restored that, there could be a nested outage or a secondary outage beneath that. And it's important that you report that to us again so that we can send crews to your area. And the last type of notification that we send is targeted communications. So during a large outage event, we try to send daily communications through email and sometimes text messages about that major event with daily updates and also references to community resources that might be available to you. And so I'm going to pass it over to Angela Feldbauer, who is our Senior Manager of ESG and Corporate Giving. And she's going to describe the community resources and partnerships available.
Thank you, Colleen. At Duquesne Light, we understand that community preparedness and resilience go beyond infrastructure and restoring power. That's why we partner with local governments, emergency services, and trusted nonprofit organizations to help prepare for storms and keep our community safe during emergencies. One of our longstanding partners is the American Red Cross, and I'm so pleased that they've joined us for today's forum to share their expertise and helpful resources. Before I turn things over to the Red Cross, I want to highlight where you can find the resources being shared today and more. So these resources are available on Duquesne Light's Storm FAQ webpage, which is linked on this slide. On that webpage, you'll find free community resources, including the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank's Find Food Guide and upcoming food distributions. You'll also find information from the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services about applying for replacement SNAP benefits after a power outage or household emergency. You'll find the United Way of Southwestern Pennsylvania's 211 helpline, which connects you to local services, and more are all located on this webpage. With that, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our partners from the American Red Cross, Connie and Sandra. Connie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you to Duquesne Light for hosting this important program. We have proudly partnered with Duquesne Light Company for many years and are truly grateful for the commitment to helping keep the communities we both serve safe and prepared for disasters. We deeply appreciate Duquesne Light's willingness to lend a hand with several of our programs throughout the year, including our Home Fire campaign, and for their support in helping people stay warm and cool during the unforeseen power outages. Thank you for your continued commitment to the mission of the Red Cross. And now I'm pleased to introduce my esteemed colleague and a true rock star of disaster response, Sandra Matashaya, Disaster Program Manager for the American Red Cross.
Thank you, Connie. The American Red Cross encourages you to get a kit, make a plan, and be informed. And as mentioned earlier, when making your kit, make sure you customize it for everyone in your household. Make sure that you have all the necessities and medications and comfort items for your families. Create a kit for work, home, and your vehicles, and also be sure to make changes for the seasonal supplies. As we go through disasters, they can become very stressful. So be sure to know the signs, take the necessary steps to manage your stress, and at the same time, be sure to check on your loved ones and children. Help them cope by being supportive after the disaster and continue to keep an eye on them. Make a plan. Be sure to keep emergency contact cards with you in the home as well as with everybody else, as remembering phone numbers can be difficult sometimes. Being informed, one of the ways you can do this is by downloading our Red Cross apps. This includes the emergency app. They're all free in your app or Google Play stores. This app provides real-time alerts for over 35 severe weather hazards, including tornadoes and floods, which are some of the alerts that we face here in Southwestern Pennsylvania. This app is also customizable for up to 5 locations, and you can use it to take a look at shelters whenever we have to open up shelters, and it can also include a family safety toolkit. Some of the other resources that the Red Cross offers are free smoke alarms, which are installed by the American Red Cross, and this is free for everybody. So if you need a smoke alarm, please be sure to call 412-263-5278. Leave your name, number, and address, and someone will contact you to set up an appointment. As mentioned earlier, this will be shared in the resources. The other thing that we do as the Red Cross is to offer a free Be Red Cross Ready presentation, which is available for yourself and social and community groups. Be sure to learn simple steps you can take now to help prepare and protect your family. This will help you understand, prepare, and respond appropriately to disasters in your areas. So to schedule an appointment, please contact myself. My information will be shared on the resource page, and we'd be more than happy to schedule an appointment to come and speak to your groups. As again, so thank you very much for your time and attention. And at this moment, I'd like to introduce Jen Neiswanger she's the Director of Customer Experience.
Thank you, Sandra. I'm pleased to close out the presentation portion of today's meeting, sharing DLC's commitment to storm preparedness. As Christy shared at the top of the meeting, storm response requires a community response. We've provided a number of tips for how you, our customers, and stakeholders can prepare for the increasingly severe weather we are experiencing. But at DLC, we are also committed to continuous improvement as it relates to storm response. Some of the ways we are doing that is through expanded training of our employees, enhancing our storm operations, and improving communication with you, our customers. One example of improving communications includes the outage resources on our website. We've recently redesigned our storm web pages to make them easier to navigate so you can get the outage information you need fast, clear, and all in one spot. These new web pages are live now and will be shared with you in the follow-up communication. We're also working to implement a post-storm survey so we can stay connected to you, our customers, to receive your feedback with areas for improvement. And lastly, ETRs, or estimated time of restoration. We know that receiving timely and accurate ETRs is so important for your planning purposes and to help you make informed decisions for your family. During a major storm, it can take some time to establish those ETRs while we assess damage and assign crews. We know it's not easy being patient in a time like that, but completing this damage assessment, which depending on the size of the storm could take days, is a critical first step in understanding what work needs to be completed to restore power. We are working toward improving the information we share and identifying how we can provide it as quickly as possible. ETRs are best estimates based on historic modeling, damage assessment, weather conditions, safety consideration, and also the types of repairs that are needed. Once we've assessed that damage and have a good understanding of when an outage can be restored, that information is then entered into our outage management system, which allows it to display on the outage map that Colleen walked you through, and also sends text or email communications to customers, which she also walked through in her presentation. So that's why it's so important that your contact information is up to date with Duquesne Light. Also, sometimes more than one crew is needed to fix an outage. For example, a crew may need to clear a fallen tree before another crew can come and make repairs to a pole and put up new wires before re-energizing. We also know that ETRs can change based on changing system conditions, or when our crews arrive to complete the work, they might uncover additional damage that wasn't visible when that damage assessment was initially assessed. All of this is to say that restoring power has a lot of moving parts, but we are committed to getting you back online as quickly and safely as possible. We have over 180 municipalities in our service territory and coordinate through each county's emergency management leaders. During a storm, we are in contact multiple times a day so we can efficiently disperse information between the groups. We're also evaluating additional partnership opportunities and how we can connect our customers to resources and support. A few examples of this: during our most recent storm a few weeks ago, we implemented a program in partnership with Giant Eagle where we offered bottled water and ice to customers affected by the power outage. After the storm, we also held an event for customers in partnership with Catholic Charities to help our customers in need restock their pantry and other critical essentials. And lastly, through partnerships like the Red Cross, who you heard from just a little while ago, we're able to connect our customers with much needed support if they experience an extended outage. Lastly, as we covered today, it's very important that you have a plan, one that is unique for your household needs. Both Sandra and BJ share details about those plans. Know what you will do or where you'll plan to go in severe weather events in the event that you're out of power for an extended period of time. But at the same time, know that DLC is committed to continuous improvement for our customers. We are always evaluating how we can improve our storm response and customer communications to keep you informed in these critical moments because we are all in this together. A few questions we often get are about generators and are they worth it and what should I know? We have information on our website about generator safety. It's under the title Electrical Safety. This is a personal choice, and a generator may be something that you consider if your household needs require uninterrupted service. Generators can help, but they must be used safely and never indoors. DLC doesn't recommend specific brands or models. Instead, we recommend that you consult with a licensed electrician to choose a generator that is the right size for your needs. Another common question that came up related to the emergency kit is about medical needs. Have a plan that's unique for your needs. Things like backup batteries, charging plans, alternate locations that you can go if you have a medical need. Do you have prescriptions that need refrigerated? We encourage you to talk to a pharmacist and understand the refrigeration requirements for your particular medication. And as always, if you have a critical medical emergency and are without power, please contact 911. In closing, responding to severe storms isn't something any one person or organization can do alone. It takes all of us. When our teams at DLC, first responders, local officials, and community members prepare and respond together, we strengthen our resilience and recover faster. Your partnership, your planning, and your commitment make a real difference and allows us to be prepared for whatever weather comes our way. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. That was a lot of great information. We're now going to move into the Q&A part of our session today. Okay, so we're going to first of all get kicked off with a question that we hear quite often, which is, what are DLC's restoration priorities when there is a large-scale outage? And so, BJ, I'm going to pass this off to you to give us some initial insights.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. So when it comes to restoration priorities, Duquesne Light has four main buckets that we look at when we talk about how we prioritize our restoration. The first bucket is public safety hazards. So when we think about a public safety hazard, think of things like wires down across roadways, burning wires, building fires, and vehicle accidents. Those are all in that public safety hazard bucket. The second bucket, in terms of order of operations, is public health and safety facilities. So some examples of these include hospitals, first responder facilities like fire, police, and EMS stations, as well as water and wastewater treatment plants, just to name a few. From there, we move on to our major circuits, which involves us restoring as many customers as we possibly can in a given repair. And from there, finally, we move to our smaller neighborhoods or outages that affect individual homes. I think another thing that I wanted to expand upon a little bit more, and Jen touched on this briefly in her segment, was another piece to restoration that folks often ask is why do I see so many DLC vehicles or other vehicles coming and going, and maybe my power doesn't come on right away? We have multiple folks that have to come out to your site or to visit an outage before the power can be restored. So the first group you might see are our troubleshooters or our assessors, excuse me. They come out to make the scene safe, and they also come out to assess what's there so that the repair crews know exactly what's involved, what materials to bring, and how long the repair may take. They're also the ones that, with their assessment, help us to determine your ETR. From there, you may see a group called line sitters. Our line sitters are not electrically qualified, but they are folks who can come out and monitor the outage or monitor the situation to make sure that it's safe. From there, like Jen mentioned, you might see vegetation management crews. So oftentimes our outages involve trees or other vegetation, and all of those instances require crews to come out and remove the trees before permanent repairs can be made. Finally, you'll see DLC repair crews, who are the folks that actually come on site to restore your power and make permanent repairs.
Thanks, BJ. I'm actually going to stick with you for the next question too here. So how does DLC prepare ahead of storms? I know we are getting into the peak of storm season now, so what can you share about that?
Sure, Ashley. A couple things that I can talk about related to preparedness ahead of storms. So the first thing we do anytime we talk about severe weather here at DLC is really work to increase our situational awareness. So that often includes working with our partners at the National Weather Service to make sure that we understand the weather that may be heading our way, as well as understanding timing and severity of that weather. We also use a variety of internal tools to understand potential system impacts as well. Another thing that we'll look at is our staffing plans. So we create staffing plans based upon the weather, both the impacts and when the weather may hit our area. This includes our field-based workforce, as well as support team members who make up our incident management team. Another thing that we take a look at oftentimes is mutual assistance, right? So crews that are outside of our service territory and external to DLC, who often may travel from many states away to come in and support the restoration efforts depending on the size of the storm. We also perform system checks, which often includes checking a lot of our customer-facing as well as internal technology to make sure that it's ready to weather the storm. And finally, sometimes you may see us put out some proactive communications via our many internal and external channels here at DLC, and I think Jen can touch upon those a little bit more here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, BJ. As we know, weather can change pretty quickly. That's why it's really important for DLC to keep its customers informed when there's severe weather in the forecast. A few tools have already been shared in terms of how you can be aware of that information. Sometimes the weather happens exactly as it's forecasted. Sometimes it doesn't, and other times it's not forecasted to be nearly as severe as what actually happens. We do our best to notify customers on social media, via email, and other channels based on the information that we have available to us. If you aren't already, make sure you follow us on social media. We have accounts on Facebook, X, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Jen and BJ. So moving on now, I know we touched on this a little bit, but I think a lot of customers still have it on their minds. What improvements are DLC making in the wake of the major storm that we had last April, and also just most recently with the windstorm on March 13th? Can maybe Jen, you can take the lead on that one a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. And a lot of this I already covered in some of my remarks in the presentation. But as Christy mentioned, we learn from every storm. We're constantly looking at ways that we can improve for our customers and evaluating our performance, getting feedback from you, and seeking input into our areas of opportunity or something that we do following every single storm. I mentioned a number of areas we've been working on since April 29th, 2025. That included enhancing our storm operations. BJ mentioned mutual assistance resources. We've been working to be able to activate those resources and scale up our response more quickly so that we can respond to those outages, especially in severe weather events where a significant amount of our customer base is out of power. It's also really important that we're continuing to strengthen our partnerships with those municipalities I mentioned and our community. So understanding from them, keeping those lines of communication open so we understand the pain points that they have and where their areas are most hard hit. And lastly, improving communications with our customers through things like our new storm section on our website, improving the messaging in our alerts and otherwise. While we've made significant progress since last year, we know that our customers are looking for more. When it comes to customer communications, we're continuously working to improve the amount of information we can provide, as well as the speed at which we can provide it.
All right, thanks, Jen. Okay, so BJ, I'm going to come back to you for another question. So talk to me a little bit more about our infrastructure and how we're preparing that, especially in the face of more increasingly severe weather as we've been seeing in recent years. Also, can you talk a little bit more about why the company doesn't underground more of our equipment? It's a common question that we get from our customers.
Yeah, so I can touch on that briefly here. So I think the first thing that I wanted to mention with regard to preparation ahead of increasingly severe weather is the fact that annually DLC invests approximately $500 million per year to both modernize the grid and work to make it more resilient. This includes installing new technology and equipment, which helps to improve our response to major events. Also, in light of the recent storms that we've talked about, we're actively working through several internal initiatives to better understand what we can do to enhance resiliency. Shifting gears a little bit to talk more about undergrounding. Anytime we talk about undergrounding, we always want to talk about our focus and balancing the need to provide reliable service at a reasonable or affordable rate to our customers. Anytime we talk about infrastructure upgrades, including undergrounding, our DLC customers are the ones that help share the cost of those infrastructure upgrades. And when we talk about undergrounding, that can often cost at a minimum 3 times more than traditional overhead equipment. Undergrounding our entire system would pass a tremendous amount of cost onto our customers by the way of their electric bill. Another thing to point out too is DLC does have underground equipment, but it's often seen in more urban areas like the city of Pittsburgh, where overhead equipment isn't necessarily feasible. Jen, I think you might have something else to touch on there too.
Yeah, I think you summed it up well, BJ. At Duquesne Light, we have a combination of both underground and overhead based on the makeup of our territory and what makes most sense. Most important to us is striving that balance between affordability and reliability, keeping our customers in mind. So as BJ mentioned, undergrounding our equipment is a significant cost. It also doesn't eliminate outages. That underground equipment comes above ground at some point. And so trees and other situations become a concern. So knowing that affordability of our customer bills is so important, we continue to evaluate that right mix of overhead and underground where it makes sense.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, we're going to put a few different people in the hot seat now. So moving over to Angie, I think you can take this next question, and maybe Sandra as well. But can you talk a little bit more about how long food stays safe during an extended power outage?
Yes, so this is a question that many of us worry about during and after power outages. So let's start with during. During a power outage, refrigerated food is generally safe for about 4 hours, as long as you keep those doors closed. For freezers during an outage, a half-full freezer will usually stay frozen for about 24 hours. And if you have a full freezer, that will stay frozen for about 48 hours. Again, if those doors stay closed as much as possible. And you can tell I've said it twice now, one of the most important things you can do during an outage is to limit how often you open the refrigerator and freezer doors. Let's shift to after. So after a power outage, proper food safety is critically important to help prevent foodborne illness. For this piece of the puzzle, the U.S. Department of Agriculture emphasizes one simple rule, and that rule is, when in doubt, throw it out. For more food safety tips and helpful tools, including a detailed keep and discard chart that I find helpful, we recommend visiting the U.S. Department of Agriculture's website, which we'll include in the resources after this call.
Okay, great. Thank you, Angie. So sticking with resources, we often get asked from senior citizens and those with special medical needs, what other specific resources are available to them during extended power outages? And so, Angie, probably another question for you, and also maybe Sandra as well.
Yeah, Jen touched on a bit of these, so I will reiterate. First and foremost, if you or someone in your household experiences a medical emergency during an extended power outage, please call 911 immediately. That is first and foremost. For non-emergency situations, I want to share a few resources and planning tips, starting with reiterating guidance that Jen shared relating medications that require refrigeration. So if you or someone in your household takes medications that must be kept cold and you're experiencing an extended outage, it's important to consider how a prolonged loss of power may affect those medications. For short periods of time, a small cooler with ice may help keep those medications at a safe temperature. But if you're unsure what's appropriate for your particular medication, we encourage you to please consult your doctor or your pharmacist for guidance. Taking things more broadly, we encourage our customers, especially seniors and those with medical or mobility needs that Ashley noted in the question, to stay connected to available community and utility support programs during these emergencies. One of the easiest ways to get connected to help is through the United Way's 211 resource helpline. You can either call 211 or you can text your zip code to 898-211. And what will happen is you'll receive information at no cost about local resources like food assistance, shelters, transportation, and many more items. And lastly, I'd say we encourage customers to plan ahead whenever possible. That can mean keeping an emergency contact list handy, having essential supplies in the emergency kit that BJ mentioned earlier within easy reach, checking in with family members, neighbors, caregivers who can help you during an outage, and staying connected to the leaders that you trust in your local communities and emergency organizations through those public safety channels that were mentioned earlier, like social media.
Thanks, Angie. I think you covered it very well. Sandra, would you want to add anything to that as well?
I think she got it all.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Angie, I'm sticking with you. Can DLC provide any free materials to help customers prepare for emergencies?
Yeah, so at this time, Duquesne Light does not provide free emergency preparedness kits or supplies directly as part of our utility services. That said, emergency preparedness is very important to us, which is why we're holding today's forum and why we partner closely with organizations that specialize in this work, like the Red Cross, who is here with us today. So the Red Cross offers emergency preparedness kits and supplies for purchase at a nominal cost. These kits are thoughtfully assembled, and they include essential items that help you and your families prepare for a range of emergency situations. You can explore the options from the Red Cross by going to their website at redcross.org/store. And another option is to build an emergency kit using items that you may already have at home, such as bottled water, non-perishable food, and the other essentials that BJ and Sandra both mentioned earlier today on today's call. And lastly, one other +1 for the Red Cross. Sandra shared earlier, they offer the free Be Red Cross Ready sessions for community and social groups. So these sessions focus on practical steps like what was discussed today, things that people can do to help protect themselves and their families, better understand local risks, and feel more prepared to respond when the emergencies do happen.
That's great. Thank you so much, Angie. Okay, going back to BJ here, and this is actually the last question we have for the panel, but what should someone do if a dead tree falls on power lines and knocks their service out?
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. So I can take this one to kind of start off with just some general vegetation management practices and information. So I think when we've talked about vegetation management, one of the biggest things to know, like I mentioned earlier, is it really is critical to reducing outages, as it's often the leading cause of power outages in our area. DLC partners with qualified utility vegetation management professionals to perform a variety of veg management activities across our service territory, including on our transmission and our distribution system. I think another thing that's important to call out as well is that while DLC is responsible for much of the vegetation management work, it's important that you, our customers, know that you are responsible for the maintenance of vegetation on your service line, often coming from the pole to your house. Jen, I'm not sure if you have maybe a couple other things to touch on.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that as a reminder, make sure that you're reporting your power outages to DLC. You can do that, we've already mentioned, via our website, mobile app, or report it through our automated phone system. If you do observe an emergency situation like a live down power line, then please maintain your distance and call 888-393-7000. That's our emergency line and will allow us to elevate that to our crew so that they're aware. It's important to know that DLC and the customer both have responsibilities when it comes to electric service. BJ touched on some of the maintenance around trees and vegetation, but there's also maintenance of customer-owned equipment as well. So we'd encourage you to visit duquesnelight.com/responsibility And we'll include that in the resources in the follow-up communication following this event. But that website speaks to the responsibilities of the equipment that Duquesne Light owns, such as the wire that delivers electricity to your house, as well as the equipment that the customer is responsible for, which includes the meter base and the weatherhead.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, well, we're a little ahead of schedule actually, so I'll kind of open the floor to anyone on the panel who might have any final thoughts or anything else that they'd like to share for our customers today before we wrap up. And if not, that's okay. Okay. Okay, so just a couple of final things to keep in mind. First of all, thank you again, everyone, for attending today. We really appreciate it. We hope to do more of these forums in the future, which is why we will be sending everyone a link within probably the next day or so that you all will be able to complete a survey, hopefully, and give us that feedback so that we can make future sessions even better. Please remember to update your contact information as well, as we've said a few times during the presentation today, to make sure that you're getting those timely notifications from DLC during weather events. And also you will be receiving a recording as well, along with those other resources that we've been discussing. So please feel free to share those with your friends and your family as well. Even if they're non-DLC customers, there's obviously some information here that can be helpful for just about anyone. So again, thank you very much for attending today. We hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.